Next thing I want to show you is that how we can add borders or layout or how we can align when we add a widget to our GUI. So let's go back again and, for example, here add here, and as soon as one has the same as we had before, so buttons, and then I will add here again, I will add 3 horizontal, 1 2 3 box, and then I add the button 1, another button here, and another button here. Now if you look at here, for example, here my first sizer that has the statics box has a title, it starts right from the border and it's very hard to see, so I don't want that. So if I click on that, come here and click on the layout, on the border I can add some border to that. So if I click here, assume 5, and then if I come here, you see, and it will add border here, and automatically it select all the borders. So usually this is what we want, to add the borders on all sides. If we don't want to add on all sides, so we can, for example, on the left we can add the left, or on the top we can add the top, but usually we add on all sides, so you can add the border. Again, you can see all the bottom start right next to each other, so I want some space between them, so I can come here again on the layout, click on the border, add 5 here, so it's add 5 on, again it automatically choose all sides, so here 5, and again here 5. So you can see now I have the border from each side of them. I can play with the border, it depends on how I want to do that. The other thing I can do, if I come click on that and then I come on the layout, if you come here, you will see that, for example, I can choose any of them to align them in any direction, or I can choose to expand them. So for example, if I choose this one, the third one, and let's click on the expand, and see it will expand it to fill all the way up. So in this case it doesn't make some sense to do that, but in some cases it might be helpful, so it expand and fill out the entire area. The reason for that is that sometimes when you have the widget, you want it to have that size, you don't want it to be resized, but sometimes you want that area that filled with that widget be resized, depend on if the user resized the GUI. So you can come here and depend on what you have, you can select it and resize it or expand it. Another thing is that this proportion here is that it's how much of the space you want to assign to each of these buttons. So here the proportion is 0, means that each of them get the equal proportion. But assume I want to divide the width into 4 sections, into 4 spaces, and then first space and second space filled with these two, but this one I want to have the rest or the middle one. So here I will say the proportion for this one, let me show it, it's going to be 1. Then for this one I want to be 2, and for this one I want it to be 1. So if you can see now the space is fills, this one is 1 1, and this one is the space this one is filled is 2. So basically if we want to say how much proportion we want each of them has, so we can do. So if we want divide the entire width to 5, and they said each of this one have 1 proportion, this one has portion, and this one has 3 portion of that. So if I change that to 3, so we'll see that again. So it's 1 3 and 1. So in this case you can depend on what you're doing, so you can change the space assigned to each of the widget, but using this proportion. Usually we want all of them have the same, so we leave them like that. So it's a 1 and 1 and 1. So if you look at here, so it's not everything has 1. If I go ahead and make it 0, so is it 0, and so this will takes the original size and the rest will be divided between these two. If I make that as 0 as well, so these two has their original size and the rest will be assigned to this, because this is 1, the other one are 2, so it gets 1, it gets 0, it's gonna be stay in its original size because it's 0, it's gonna stay in its original size 0, and this one won't get the rest. And if I make this also 0, so you will see that each of them are in their original size. So probably in this case, I'm gonna make it 1, 1. So each of them has the same portion and 1/3 of the width of this canvas that we have. Again, also, as I said, you can come here, choose either of them if you go down there, and you can, depend on which of them are available, you can just select them. So for example, you align the bottom, or align the expand, or align center. So if you want to be center, so you can align them in a position that you want within that size there. So that's also something that you want to look at that. So that's how we can use the proportion and border and these alignments to put the widgets in the location that we want.